Hey everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of Art Book Editions podcast, where we get into the stories, artists, and subcultures behind some of our favourite publishing projects. I'm Rio, co-founder of Soi Books, and today I'm chatting with the one and only Remi Rough, graffiti legend and contemporary artist whose work has taken him from the streets of South London to galleries all over the world. We're working on a really special project together called B-Sides and Outtakes, a super limited edition of 50 books, each one paired with a hand-painted A3 canvas by Remi. The book dives into Remi's journey through graffiti with stories and reflections from some of the people closest to him. And hi Remi, thanks for being here.
Hello mate, you're welcome. Thank you.
Finally, we're here.
Yeah.
Right. So, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, the sun is shining.
And
No
where are you now?
complaints. I'm just at home.
Cool. So yeah, I guess I wanted to kick things off with a few questions about your background, starting from the beginning. What was your first memory of graph, and what drew you to it?
My first memory. That I'm not sure what my first exact memory was. I'd seen things kind of in South London, which were pretty bad. Two things stand out, and one was a graffiti piece that I saw in Brixton that said "Jail Man," and it was kind of down just behind Roughton Road, by the estate there, and it had like a little character, and it just said "Jail Man." I just really remember that. I kind of visually remember it. I think I might even have a photo of it, but it wasn't particularly good. It just stuck in my mind. And the other thing that really stuck in my brain is when I started secondary school. I'd actually moved schools like in year three, so I went to a different secondary school, and kind of in that first week there was a kid that I befriended called Nick Christea who had a copy of Subway Art, and I'd never seen this before, and I was just like, wow, this is incredible. And he brought it in, and we were like looking through it, and I said to him, can I borrow it one time? And he said, yeah, sure. And he let me take it home. I borrowed it. Um, Went through every aspect of it, and kind of just took in as much as I could, um, and then gave it back to him like a day or two later, and I'd copied loads of things out of it. So they're like my two key memories that I have, I guess, from the beginnings. And then the mad thing was that like last weekend I was actually hanging out with Henry Chalfont, who co-wrote that book with Martha Cooper, which is quite surreal. Um, and I consider him a friend, and then that's yeah, it's quite mad.
Oh, cool. So, who were the sort of artists and sort of crews that inspired you, like influenced you early on in your career?
I mean, growing up in South London, you had, I would say, a very South London centric kind of opening to what you, or access to what you could see. There were two, I would say, formative crews from South London. One was called Tough Arts, who were not so prolific, very talented, but I don't think ever quite got the chance to really fulfill their potential and do as much as they could. But they were brilliant. They had an amazing character artist called Drone 2, who sadly, I think, died in a shooting, um, quite young. Um, so he never got to fulfill his potential, which is very sad. And then the other crew that was a big influence on me were the London Giants. And I knew some of them. I kind of, in some ways I'd consider them mentors, because I mean, I wasn't particularly friends with them, but I knew them, and I would kind of gravitate towards them if I saw them in Covent Garden. They're always really nice guys, and very open to chatting and sharing. Um, but beyond that, obviously, you had Chrome Angels, who were, huge influence in London, um, especially Pride, I'd say, who I think style-wise was just on a complete different level. Artful Dodger, who I met quite early on and became friends with. There was just so much, but I mean, I would say mainly they were like the South London crews because, London was a vast city and, I did travel around, but my main core access point was South London.
Nice, nice. Okay, cool. And can you explain to us your sort of up and down relationship with UK graffiti?
Oh, how long have you got? I guess, I mean, it's a complicated thing to be a part of, to view from an outside perspective. It's it's full of egos and eccentricities and complicated individuals. And I being that 99.9% of them are all men as well, which I guess puts in another kind of element of complication. I I didn't really kind of find my tribe until 1989 when I met Juice in Bridlington, of all places, at the World Graffiti Championships. And he is one of my best friends in the universe, and it's kind of weird because as you'll see in that book I made, the Iconoclast book. Sorry to plug, but um, he had this idea of finding a kind of group of like-minded artists, some of which he had a very clear vision of who they were and how he could access them, which is mad considering the time. There were no mobile phones, there was no internet, it's pre-digital. But he knew where he had to go to see particular artists and find them, and then some that he found kind of by mistake, um, but knew of them. Like myself, I'd done a big piece in Birmingham, but I'd never met him, and I'd come back, and then he knew that, and he knew other work that I'd done in London. So that was my tribe in '89. But I think that before that, I never really thought I fitted in. I still don't. Graffiti is a kind of, the world of style writing is such a complicated place to be. And given that you're kind of coming of age and you're going through changes of teenage years, it's like that just adds to it. Um, I think there's a book in that somewhere.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. That's a nice little introduction about your background and everything. And I remember you telling me about some of these stories, but it's good. It's good to know from your own words. Right. So let's talk a bit about the book we're making together, the
Yeah,
B-Sides and Outtakes. Yes.
yeah.
So this is a kind of a collaborative project. I guess maybe it might make some sense if I give the sort of background. Being from Soi Books, we come up with the original concept and then approached you, and then it kind of developed from there. But yeah, so myself and Shaz, who is also the co-founder of Soi Books, so we both come from a bit of a documentary background, and probably about 2 years ago, we had this idea of creating a series of books, mainly with graffiti artists, kind of behind the scenes documentary type books, and showcasing artists from from where they live, what they eat, where they hang out, and their artwork. So putting the art in graffiti wall pieces into perspective. So this came out as sort of a mini book series called Hello, My Name Is. We made a book with a Japanese artist called Suiko, and another one with a Hong Kong art writer called Zemi. Yeah, these were our first range of books. And so moving on to phase two, we wanted to try something a bit different. And this is where we approached Remi to try something new. This is what's become B-Sides and Outtakes. Yeah. So, and another element of this is in May 2024, we were at the Unlock Graffiti Book Festival in Munich, where we met Roald from Chemistry Publishing in the Netherlands. A really nice guy, makes beautiful books in his studio. We just immediately hit it off, and we were having conversations about the books that we were having there and his books. And so, yeah, he had this he was telling me about a book that he made with an artist where he used actual artwork and cut it up and used the canvas as the cover. And then I was like, yes, this is what's gonna, this is what I want to do to raise the level. And yeah, we came to talk to you.
Did.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I mean, again, like to give contextual background, like we've been friends for years and we've known each other a long time, and this isn't the first project we've done together. Like um, I submitted stuff I contributed to Sticker Bomb. We did like launches together at Red Bull, like music nights with like Matt and those guys, so we were like very interconnected. And then when you guys were making the Big Dada doc, I mean, obviously I was at that point making a lot of music and very connected to a lot of those people. So our paths again were crossing. Um, I guess, yeah, we've kind of always stayed connected. Um,
Yes, long time in the
and
making for
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
it,
Sticker Bomb was
funny.
2008. I checked it yesterday.
Wow, wow,
2008 at Tottenham
crazy.
Court Road, London Red Bull offices, and
Yeah,
was it Juice that came down?
system.
No, System. No,
Yeah,
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 System. Yeah, he did that live installation. Yeah, that was
yeah.
super early days for our like published the second book we released, I think, after the
Yeah.
Japanese graffiti book. So yeah, long 20
And
years
so,
in the
so
making.
obviously, I have, yeah. I mean, I have trust in you guys to do cool projects and get it done. Because I think in my world there are so many people who say, "Let's do this, let's do that," and it never happens. Um, I like to surround myself with people who actually do things and get things done, and you and Shaz are definitely that. Any prospect of us working on another book together, which is really exciting. We won't talk about that yet because that's top secret. But like I think I knew that you'd put something really cool together. And when you approached me, we were initially going to do just the My Name Is, and then we kind of all came into the idea that it kind of needs to be more than that. And then you came back with all these crazy ideas of making like limited edition, one-off, hand-painted covers. And then I had to go and spend weeks doing that.
Which actually I have the canvas artwork that you created here. To let's
Oh,
have a
nice.
look. Some, yes. It's actually 50, so I'm not going to just go through all of them right now, but yeah,
Yeah, you'll be there forever.
here's just picking my personal favorites. Here's one of them. Yeah, it still smells of the spray paint, which is, I love that.
Yeah, it will for a while.
Yeah, it's great. Here's one.
I mean, like I guess the fact that we just made original paintings that will become book covers, people can always like unpick them and frame them or what, do whatever they want. But the idea that, yeah, I think the
So
idea of doing things that are so original and one off, I think people like that.
could you tell me a bit of background about so how these were made? These were from one big piece of
Yeah, we got a big sheet of canvas. Well, you ordered a big sheet of canvas, sent it to my studio, um, and then I spent ages painting that big canvas, kind of as I guess, some kind of loose contextual background. And then what I did is I started adding a few other elements, realized that I kind of needed to kind of move into a different space with it. So I started cutting them out as the A3s and painting them separately. So I kind of, they're like three paintings in one, really.
so
And then I put them all back together. So
details like this you were adding after.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was just painting like and adding bits and then going back and picking them and going, oh, that needs a little something there and little fades and just trying to create work that was, I think, of value to me and to whoever purchases one.
Mm. So, so in a sense, did you treat each cover as it's like, is it like an own piece, or it started out as one big
Yeah,
piece and
but
then,
then I put them all back as like a jigsaw puzzle, and weirdly, it kind of worked quite well. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, there's a lot. You can still see the pencil
So
marks, and
yeah,
there's a
yeah, totally.
there's a bit of grit to them. There's a bit of dirt and grit to them that
Yeah,
I
texture as
kind
well
of
is
like
really nice.
because
Yeah.
yeah,
So they kind of like speak to each other as a kind of series in a way. They're like
I
they
think
come
so.
from the same cloth, and so they kind of
Yeah.
yeah. That's nice. So okay, when making these, like, what role does sort of like spontaneity kind of play when you're creating these like small scale pieces compared to like say like a large, large piece?
I mean,
Is it a different approach?
everything's I don't really work from drawings doing stuff like that. It's all in here. It just kind of comes out. I know there's a certain amount of comfort that I work to and with. Um, Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't really know. But there's a comfortability with how I work and what I do. But there's also a kind of a freedom of, well, I know what I'm doing and I can kind of push it that way or that way. Um, so I just get into it, and my brain just switches off and I just become part of that, and I'm in it and I just get on with it. And what comes out hopefully looks okay. Not always, but I try mostly.
And so like where does this project sort of sit in your overall journey? Is it like a bit of an outlier, or you attempted something like this before, or
I think what's nice about this, and even the title really kind of says it. You collate so much content and information as an artist, visual information, reference, friends, relationships, and kind of just visual, I guess, influence on you, like constantly. Um, and you don't necessarily get to share that. People always see like the hero shot, like you'll have a photographer with you on a mural project. You spent 5, 6 days on a mural, and then you finish, you're knackered, and you've got this mural, and then a lovely photographer takes pictures, sends you the pictures, you release that into the world. People don't often get to see the sweat, the dirt, the tears, the drama, the meltdowns. And I think what this book kind of does, or what it gives, is a different perspective into that side of me, because it's a bit more personal. My favorite bits in there are actually the unfinished paperwork that I'm painting, and that you can still see the ruler and bits of tape on it. And I don't really share those. I share the finished thing, but I think it's important that people understand that they don't just happen. Nothing just happens. Everything is processed, everything is started, then involved, and then finished. um, and I think I'm really happy to share this stuff. I'm not one of those people that, oh, I'm not going to give anything away. It's like, I think I own it enough that I can share it and be comfortable with that. But that, I think, is the nice thing about this.
hmm, that's great, yeah. So the fact that these prints were going to be a part of a book cover, like how does that change your
Paintings,
approach? So
paintings, not
the
prints.
yes, so let me start again. So the fact that
Original
these,
paintings.
yeah, the fact that these
Mhm.
paintings will be part of a book as a
Yeah.
cover, used as a cover, does that change, or did it change your approach?
I mean, I love books. I always have. I'm a book designer as well, as you know, and I I consider books to be a piece of art, and I think it just seems logical to me to take that a little step further and have a original piece wrapped around it. It's like it's a piece of art. It's just a piece of art wrapped in a piece of art. And I wholly understand that not everyone sees things like that. But in my head, everything, like a book is a piece of art.
Yeah, I think it's more so true now that there's not many bookshops anymore. In general,
Yeah,
books, art books, people are not buying up this, so they have to be something special. I think
yeah,
that's where we're trying to head as well as a publisher. We're trying to put more value and more soul into.
I spoke to someone recently who was asking my advice on designing a book, and they were telling me they were just going to design it in AI. And I was like, why would you do that? Those little nuances, those little kind of things you want to do to make it beautiful, little additions and details, that's all going to get lost.
And also,
Or
I don't know who it's for. Who's going to buy this? Why?
yeah,
There's no soul in it. I mean, I
yeah.
guess there's
I wasn't
mass market
sold.
books. There are mass market books which are just for everyone and general books,
Yeah.
but they just have to be fun, but they're hard to sell now because there are no bookshops. So how are people going to buy them?
There's a few. Yeah. I mean, hopefully I'm doing a book tour like over the summer, so I'm going to be in a lot of bookshops.
You've got to support them, yeah, for sure. Another question that I have here, your work is a very architectural and abstract field. So how do you translate that language onto a smaller, more intimate format like an A3 canvas?
I think the format is largely irrelevant, and the size or scale is largely irrelevant. What's important is the scope of the work, what I want to do, what I want to achieve. I can do a drawing on a postcard, which I have done, and I'll put the same energy, focus, and spin on what I want to achieve with that postcard. A wall that's 3 stories high, and the thing that I think where to answer your question wholly, really, they reference each other. So painting walls, painting, doing small things on drawings and postcards, everything references each other. It's a circle of, or a pool, if you will, of information that I can take from and utilize and share and have dialogue with other things. So yeah, I don't really, I mean, the size and scale and it means nothing to me. It's just another piece of work.
Cool. Okay. So this book like features quotes from your friends and your fellow writers. So what role has that community played in your journey as an artist?
I mean, so much, like people that have been part of my life for 35 years. People, like someone like Crash, for example. Crash is, I would consider, a mentor, a friend. I've shown in his gallery multiple times. I've got work hanging in his gallery right now. um, and he believes in what I do. He supports what I do. Shock, same. We've been friends since like 1991, I think. It's a long time. Juice since '89. Stormy since '89. They're these people are my family as well. They're just there. They're amazing people, amazing artists, and I very much appreciate the community around me. I think that's really important, and I think that's a really important aspect of being an artist. Um, because if you don't appreciate your community, what's the point? You're just making art, and who do you talk about it with? Who do you share it with? Um, it's really important to me, I think.
So we're getting into that sort of wrapping up questions now, but what do you hope people take away from this edition?
I mean, I really hope that people see that I really care about what I do, and the energy and the effort that I put into the work that I make, and the people that surround me. I hope that they can get that and it goes on a shelf and they can pull it out and they just get, like a little bit of inspiration, a little flash of color. That's why I do what I do. I do it to bring joy. I do it to bring joy to myself. I do it to bring joy to other people. And if you put it in a book format, that joy can go out into the world and be shared, more so than it can on a phone or a computer screen. And I think the tangibility of holding something means so much more than looking at it on a phone or a screen.
Speaking of phone or screen, I have a question from a friend of us, a mutual friend. I won't say
Go
who
on.
it is.
Okay.
He has a question for you. He says, yes. So the question to you is, do you listen to music during your creation process, and how do you feel music influences what you create, and what music or artist was heavily featured during the making of this art?
Oh, I do listen to music. I listen to a lot of music in the studio, across the board. I do remember actually when I was doing the big kind of initial background of this canvas, when it was just one canvas, I was listening to Alice Coltrane, which I love. It's a Journey's album, and I love it so much. And it's just all this amazing harp music and jazz. But I listen to kind of all kinds of things. It kind of sometimes the music can kind of push things in a certain direction. If it's sort of, quite chilled, sometimes it can kind of change it. But yeah, there's a lot of jazz, a lot of kind of underground hip hop stuff that I really like. That's not at all aggy. It's all very kind of, again, it's quite jazzy, stuff like Diggable Planets, Shabazz Palaces, Rap Ferreira, Open Mike Eagle. But yeah, I really recall listening to that Alice Coltrane album um, quite a lot actually whilst doing this.
Cool, yeah. Nice. That's a great album. Yeah. In fact,
Yeah,
it'll go on my playlist for today, this afternoon, actually. That's good
good.
for that. Yeah. So here's another, it's like a little bonus section, which I want to talk to you about your favorite book. I want to see if you have anything.
Well, I brought this one up, which is the monograph, the artist monograph by my friend Futura, aka Leonard McGurr. It's it's a beautiful book which has a lot of very beautiful plates of his work. But what I really like is all the kind of background photos of him. There was one thing in particular I really liked, um, like the flyers and the invites and stuff. Um, I just think it's such a cool book. I learned quite a lot about him that I didn't know in this book. It's published by Rizzoli. Um, it's got some really good texts in it as well, like Lee Quinones, um, Agnes B, Virgil Abloh, Jeffrey Deitch, Takashi Murakami. He really got good people to write about his work. Um, and when I was making my new book, other book that I'm making apart from you, the Iconoclast book, I use this as a bit of a reference for kind of how to put a book together. So I would say it's quite an influential book. Um, but it's not my favorite Futura book. My favorite Futura book is the first one that Mo Wax produced, which is a brilliant book. Um, and I actually took it to Paris a couple of years ago because Futura had a show, and I got him to finally sign it after like 25 years.
That's great, man. That's great. Yeah, I have that Mo Wax book, but I believe it's
Yeah. Have you got the
Shaz's
one with the
house.
stickers? Have you got the one with the
Yes,
stickers?
yes.
That's the first edition.
But
There was a
he's
second edition without stickers
uh, okay, yeah.
because
But
I think the
he's had
stickers
it for
were
so
so much.
long. Yeah, he's had it for so long that I think he probably thinks it's his, but I believe it
No,
is mine.
I think
Kept
we
it
need to
for
basically,
decades.
yeah, you need to get it back. Jazz return, please.
Yeah.
Text him.
Actually, so yeah, the Iconoclast book. This is
Yeah.
a new book. It's just come
Mm.
out. Is it out yet?
It's
It
not
has come. Yeah,
officially
or
out.
is it free?
It's I have a copy.
Please
It's
tell
quite
us about
thick.
this. Yeah, the movement and who's involved in the movement.
So, you know what? I'll read you what Kid Acne wrote on the back of it, which kind of summarizes it. Iconoclast represents a significant chapter in UK style writing history, now thankfully being told after having flown under the radar for 30-something years. As a wide-eyed teenager growing up in the Midlands and discovering graffiti in the early 90s, I'm grateful to have witnessed their work and experienced the profound impact this group of artists had. not just on my own creative endeavours, but on many of my peers at that time too. I knew iconoclast was innovative and inspirational, but looking back, a seismic shift is probably more accurate. Individually and collectively, alongside a handful of others, the artists of the iconoclast movement broke the mould and pushed the envelope with an unprecedented body of work throughout the late 1980s and 1990s, an impact that is undeniable. He wrote that, I didn't write that.
There we have it.
It's an archive. It's a very big archive. It's nearly 300 pages. There's over 400 images in there. We've got the forewords by Simon Armstrong, who's head of books at Tate. The main text is by Dr. Lois Oliver, who curates for the Royal Academy and the Dulwich Picture Gallery. She's an art historian. And then, just everyone, all the artists of Iconoclast kind of contributed and wrote things and helped put it together.
Fantastic. Yes, I'll definitely be getting a copy of that, and I'm going to go to your house to get it signed, along with when the B-Sides and Outtakes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I'm excited about. They're two very different books as well, which I think is amazing. Like there's so much content in our world. So, you can make two very, very different books at, the same time, and they literally don't have any kind of crossover at all, which I think is quite interesting.
I think Colin from Velocity Press are releasing the Icon book. Is it true that it's a launch event in July?
We have a launch event next week, on Wednesday.
Next week?
It's like a soft launch.
Yeah.
There will be a couple of things in July. There's going to be one in Rye Books bookshop. So I'm going to basically do a book tour through the summer, and then another one in Birmingham, and then hopefully a big launch in September at Tate.
Yeah.
And then a launch for our project somewhere as well.
Yes. So it'll be a fun summer. Yes.
Yeah.
Summer's usually quite quiet in terms of publishing, but hey.
Yeah, I don't think it will be this summer. I think it's going to be crazy.
That's it for today's conversation. A big thanks to Remi for sharing your journey, your process, and the making of B-Sides and Outtakes with us. These paintings will now make their journey up to a town called Leeuwarden, I practiced that, in the Netherlands, northern Netherlands, where our partners Chemistry Publishing is based. And I hope I can share some more insights soon on how these books are being made. So if you'd like to get your hands on a copy of B-Sides and Outtakes, follow the link or head to soibooks.com. But obviously don't wait too long, as there's very limited numbers left now. Next up on Art Book Editions, we will be talking to British Jamaican explorer Dwayne Fields, who we are working with on our first graphic novel called Cimarron. You can follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Soi Books Editions for news on future editions. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.